Hi, my name's Rosie. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm coming to you from the corner of my room that houses my wardrobe because I just wanted to visually demonstrate the fact that I recently got rid of half of my wardrobe. Some of that is that I put my winter clothes away in storage. So there were some chunky jumpers which probably make up a little bit of what's here, but I also got out my summer clothes and promptly got rid of a lot of them, either sold or charity shopped or recycled. I am looking forward to, though, replenishing my wardrobe, and I thought I would take you along for the journey. So if that sounds like something that you would like to see, stick around. Originally, I was going to put all of the things that I want to make for my summer wardrobe in one video. And then I very quickly realized it would be a very, very long video. So I have decided to go with a lovely little 3 things for this video. And I will be making this a series, hopefully, as I make more things for my wardrobe over the summer. I'm excited to do it slowly and intentionally, and I have lots of plans. So I'm excited for that, but without further ado, let's get on to the first making my dream summer wardrobe thing. Hello, welcome to my kitchen floor. I have a potentially disastrous, chaotic plan that involves Rit dye and all of my whites. Let me explain. I way prefer off-whites. I think they suit me better, but I have a lot of whites in my wardrobe that I would wear more if they were just slightly less white. For example, these tops here. This one probably doesn't show up on camera, but it is fractionally off-white. This one is obviously a lot less white. And I would like something between these for most of mine. I need them to be more neutral than this, but less white than this. Although I'm not going to dye this one because I like it as it is. I also have some other clothes that, whilst are not strictly white, have white in them that I would prefer to be less white. I basically want to warm these up colour palette wise. And so I bought some Rit dye. I have tan and marigold because when I was looking on the Rit dye website for their colour calculator, the one that I liked was a hint of marigold, but I thought it was a little bit yellow for my liking, so I got tan. I'm gonna do some tests only to see how the colours work out separately and together, and then honestly I'm just gonna go for it. I'm gonna put in a really small amount. I'm not putting the whole bottles in, obviously. I'm gonna go for a really small amount, and if it's not enough, I can put more in. All of these are cotton and linen, so they should take pretty well. They'll take slightly differently, obviously, depending on the garment. These, I have no idea how they're going to go. I have no idea how the dye is going to affect the other colours. I'm obviously going to do colours and whites separately. Right, let's get testing. I've got some eclectic, let's say, containers and some swatches. This is just random, probably cotton from my fabric stash. Hopefully it's cotton, otherwise this might be a terrible test. I'm going to do one that's just tan, one that's just marigold, and one that's both, and obviously a tiny, tiny amount of each. I'm going to add a bit of salt and a tiny, tiny bit of detergent because I want it to be close enough of the colour examples so that I know what I want to go for, but I'm not expecting this to be a realistic example of what the colour will actually turn out as because I'm doing it in the washing machine. There's a lot more, and obviously the quantities of everything are totally different. So, got some boiling water from the freshly boiled kettle. Let's go. So interestingly, one of the other methods I considered using rather than rip dye or Dylon or one of those things was tea dyeing. The reason I didn't go with it was because I think the results were probably less predictable and potentially not as fixed in the fabric. So I wanted to go with something more predictable. But tell me these do not look like 3 lovely cups of tea. Very weak. Maybe not that one, but these two look quite weak. Already the marigold to me seems too yellow and the tan doesn't seem yellow enough. So it might not be a 50-50 mix I go with, but we'll leave these and see how it goes. They're done. They're dry. I hung them out to dry and they dried in literally like 5 minutes. Fun fact, while I'm doing this, I'm also attempting to fix our dishwasher, which is broken. So you're getting very select views of the kitchen because stuff is everywhere. Aren't these colours pretty? Obviously don't want the finished colours to be this strong, anywhere near this strong, but dyeing in that smaller quantity, it was going to be hard not to have them strong. I think kind of predictably, my favourite is the mix of the two. So this is marigold, this is roughly 50-50 or as close as I could get to eyeballing it in the cap. And this is the tan colour. This I think might be okay by itself. I don't think this by itself would be okay, but I do majorly prefer the middle ground. I think what I'm going to do is go for a 2 parts tan, 1 part marigold vibe. The instructions say to pour it all into the section where the detergent goes, but there's quite a lot that you need to pour in and you mix it all beforehand. So we're going to do it in this because this has not been a used water bottle in a long time and I have used it for dyeing before. I think I just have to go for it. Have I just ruined all of my white clothes? I am so pleased with how this went. There were some hiccups, which I'll touch on in a second, but as you can see, this top that I'm wearing, I dyed, and I just think it suits me so much better. This was the colour I was going for, and this is one of the items. As you can kind of see, everything's a little bit more yellow and a little less intense of a colour. I think this is more of an orangey colour, so if I wanted to achieve this, I'd probably need an orangier yellow, but I am incredibly happy with how this came out. As you can see, there's a lot more in my wardrobe. There were a couple of patches on some of the items. I think this is probably the worst one. I don't know why, maybe it was the linen, but you can kind of see there are some bits where I think the dye must have just been not super absorbed into the water that I poured in. So I think in the future I am going to do it exclusively in the bath, which is what I did for the colours. I started these out in the washing machine and did a cycle and basically nothing happened. I don't know if I just didn't put enough in, but not a lot happened except on these ones, which came out just perfectly. I'm so happy with these. I think they go with so much more in my wardrobe now. Black is still a weird colour for me. I'm still not 100% on it, but these I do love, so it was worth it. They go with more. They go with this top. I wouldn't wear blue and black gingham, but they go, I think, with everything. Have I said that enough? Then these I ended up doing in the bath. First, the failure. This hasn't really come out how I would have liked it to, and I think it's going to go in a pile for probably cutting up and making into other things. I think the bottom 3 tiers on this were probably synthetics and so haven't dyed because the dye that I used was not for synthetics. And then the top 2 have gone a little bit. I quite like how the red's gone. That's my favourite in this. The yellow has just gone more yellow, which obviously is fine, and I was expecting that. But with the other ones not going, if I was to dye this more to try and achieve these colours, in the right color. The yellow, I think, would just end up being a plain color, and that kind of defeats the point of having rainbow gingham. It's sad because I did make this and I enjoyed it and I liked it, but it's also never been my favorite. It's comfortable because it's oversized, but I've never loved it particularly. I'm just gonna remake it into something else, and that's fine. Then finally, this dress I'm very happy with. This fabric we got for our wedding. We bought it to use as table runners, and it was just cheaper, rather than hiring gingham tablecloths, to hire the normal white tablecloths and buy something like 17 meters of gingham fabric. And so I have a lot of this fabric. I, however, as I've said, am not a pure white person. This blue I also don't particularly think is my blue. So I am very happy with this off-white version. I think it's a lot more me. I prefer it. I still have some amends to do on this dress. I made it last year and I've never been happy with the neckline, but I made it in a rush for a party and then I haven't edited it since. So hopefully now that I prefer the colour, I will get around to doing that because I just think it's lovely. And I do have a wedding to go to in September, so this might be nice for us. So that was dyeing all of my whites. I feel like my wardrobe is way more usable now. I'm definitely going to do this again in the future. Would highly recommend it. I got some colour stay and washed everything with that. If you do have any tips for how to even out the colours on these ones that have gone a bit wrong, they would be appreciated. Some of them, it's really not that bad. It's just like a little bit. So I'd like to be able to return them all to a smooth colour, but if that isn't possible, I might just dye over them in a darker colour that the patches won't show up on. I'm not that mad about it because, to be honest, I didn't really wear them anyway because they weren't a colour I liked. So no loss. I'm now going to play around with all of the new outfits that I could possibly make with my new off-whites, and I'll have a lot of fun with that. Hello and welcome to the first make of the video. I'm so excited. I have purchased the Skyline dress by Sydney Graham. This is my first Sydney Graham pattern. I actually haven't followed all that many patterns in my life. I've done a lot of self-drafting, which I probably should have done more pattern following because I need to learn things before I just go off on my own. But hey, I did not learn that lesson and I probably will never learn that lesson. I like playing around too much. But one of the things on my Pinterest board that I noticed came up was big floaty tiered dresses, and I had a vision in my head of exactly what I wanted to make, and then I went looking for patterns and this is exactly it. So I bought the pattern. I will be making multiple of these, I think, if I like this when it's completed, but probably for this video just the one. I have printed off, stuck together and cut out the pattern. It's got, I think, surprisingly few pieces. I don't know why I thought it would have more, but I'm not mad about it. The plan is to do it patchwork. I've got lots of fabric lying around and I think I want to do a fun little patchwork piece where I have pieces like this. Instead of cutting on the fold, I'm going to cut each one individually with a little bit of extra seam allowance and attach them. I'm not sure what seams I want to do next. I think I will try and do French seams or some kind of seam that completely encloses the ends of the fabric because I do not own an overlocker and I would rather not have too many loose ends. So I think today what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the fabrics and I'm going to wash and dry them. That's something I've never done, which is probably something I shouldn't admit to, but I have never pre-washed my fabrics and it's always worked out. I think it's fine. If it's oversized, it's probably fine, but with using lots of different types of fabrics that might all shrink differently, I think I probably need to do it. I think the fabrics will be random bits that are just in my fabric stash. Over the years, I've gathered some random stuff in there. I'm gonna have a look, pull it out. It's, oh, here comes my cat. You say hi, Aslan? But yeah, I'm gonna pull out my fabric and Hi. Hello. And Aslan's going to help. He's purring. Aslan, what do you have to say? With a good bit of trial and error, picking out and laying out all of the fabrics, I think I've settled on this collection. Let me talk you through what they are. This, I don't remember where I got it from. I think it was maybe originally a tablecloth. I think I probably bought it in a charity shop. I don't know why, I don't know when, but I'm glad I did. This is actually a skirt, which is actually half of a dress that I bought and ended up taking the top off. I don't know where the top is. Hopefully I can find it if I need extra, but I think there's probably plenty for my purposes if I place it right. This is a gorgeous fabric that I think I got in a charity shop. I've already made a pair of trousers out of it, so I know I like it, I know I love wearing it, and I think it goes really well. This is a bed sheet that I no longer need or use, and so will be going into this garment. This is some fabric left over from a skirt I made my mum. I don't remember where I got the fabric, but I think charity shop or car boot sale. And then this is some gingham green that I originally bought to make a pair of trousers and just really messed up the trousers, and I think it goes really well in this collection. And I'm going to make some shorts from the rest of the fabric that I have upstairs, which is already cut into the trousers that are completely wonky and don't fit, but I think I can make shorts out of what I do have there. So I'm going to use the rest of it in this dress. I'm hoping to have enough. I've done some looking on Instagram of other people's versions of this dress, and I think I have an idea of how I want to do the patchwork a little bit better than what I was saying before. I think the top I will still do 2-2, but I think then I'm going to split the next layers slightly differently into possibly odd numbers, because the middle tier, I don't want it to be a line down the middle. I want them to be offset, but the middle tier is where the pockets sit. And so obviously I need a seam there to put the pockets in. And so I think I'll need to do a little bit of figuring that out. But I'm not mad if I end up adding some extra and it has some extra flair. I think I would be okay with that. Then for the bias and the straps, I think I'll see what I have the most of left over and what I think looks best once I've cut everything else out. So the fabric is out of the wash, and I've actually decided to get rid of the plain colors from the design, just because when I was arranging things, I think both of these colors are quite bold and change the tone of the whole thing really dynamically. Whereas I think the 4 patterns work really nicely together. And because it's gingham and then 2 very similar florals, I think they all work next to each other. So I have been drawing up my plan for how I want to patchwork. I did a lot of sketch working on how I wanted to split each of the pieces, and looked at a lot of images online of what other people have done. And from my sketches and seeing what people have done online, I realized I wanted to do 2 on the top, 4 on the middle, 8 on the bottom, so doubling. I did some very chaotic puzzle solving to figure out how all of the pieces would sit next to each other. I don't think I can explain what I did. It made sense in my brain. I've sketched over it, and I think I like how the checks and the dots represent the flowers look next to each other. I don't think at any point it looks like there's one design bunched up in one place. I've tried to avoid designs being diagonally next to each other, but I haven't completely avoided that, I don't think. Hopefully it turns out on the finished garment as nicely as this, but yeah, I've just noticed in the top corner of this pattern it says lane pants, but this is the Skyline dress, and lane pants is a different pattern, so that's quite funny. It's always nice to see that people who are doing really cool creative things, they still make little mistakes. It happens, we're all human, and that's something lovely. Right, that's enough yapping. Let's get to cutting. I'm done for the day. I find that sewing is a lot more whole body intensive than like knitting, for example, so I don't think I can go into the evening and actually feel relaxed. So I have cut out almost all of the pieces. I've just got most of one and the whole of another of the bottom tier squares, rectangles to cut out, and then I'm done with the cutting and then I'm going to sew together each of the pieces, and then I'll start the pattern properly. But that's for probably tomorrow. I'm going to go for a little walk. After a long afternoon of sewing, I have made significant progress. I have patchworked the panels together. I'm not actually done. I still have 1.5 of the bottom panels to sew together. I am incredibly happy with how it's coming together and how it's looking. I'm so pleased. I think the patchworking looks really neat. I kind of wish I'd made the effort on the side seams, but I don't think it will bother me long term, especially as the mental agility with the pockets would have been quite a lot. I just have the remains of the patchworking to finish up, and then the pockets, and then gathering and attaching the layers. So, you know, the whole skirt to do. But I am now going to London for a couple of days for a work thing, and I am going to take it with me because my mum has a sewing machine. I'm going to continue it in London. See you when I see you. I am in London, staying at my parents' house for a few days, and my mum is very kindly letting me use her sewing machine. I've never used it before, but a sewing machine's a sewing machine, right? Yeah, I'm going to continue making this dress. I love it. I don't think I have ever been happier with something I've made. And that's saying something. I've made my own wedding dress. It's exactly what I wanted in a patchwork dress. I'm glad that I went for the 4 colours over the more that I was going to do. I'm happy that I used the mismatched strap colours. I'm just so pleased with it. The pockets are great, they're really useful. Where I've done the flat felled seams on the patchwork, it looks really neat, really good. But I'm also not mad that I didn't do it for like the side seams and the pockets, because I think it just would have been quite a lot more effort. It was already quite a lot with the patchwork flat felled seams, so where I made it a little bit easier for myself, I'm not mad about it. I think I'm definitely going to make this pattern again, probably in a solid colour next, and I think it will come together a lot quicker than this did, because really the longest time was cutting out all the patchwork and then sewing up all the patchwork. I did make a minor mistake, which I didn't even realise until I filmed a TikTok and turned around in it and saw it. So it's on the back. I accidentally put the bits in the wrong place. Gosh, I really need to trim a lot of threads off this. There was a lot of travel involved with this project. I've never really travelled with sewing, and so where I'd lined everything up, I had picked it up. I did take photos, but I was quite tired when I put this layer in, so I think I just didn't really clock and I put it in wrong. I'm not mad. I don't think anyone's going to notice. It doesn't bother me enough to want to change it because it would involve taking the whole layer out, probably regathering and Oh, I hadn't even noticed. Oh, okay, I see what I've done. Right, I've put where these are, they should be switched, and to actually switch them would be quite a lot. So that's fine. It's in the back. No one said anything. I've had so many compliments. I don't think I have anything else to say apart from I love this dress and will be wearing it all summer. I can't wait to make more of them. The end. In my wardrobe, I have a lot of the same style top that I wear a lot. I say a lot, I think I have maybe 3, but I wear them all the time, so it feels like a lot. And that is this style of top. This is just one from Uniqlo. I recently found camisole No. 9, which is just this top but knitted, and so I'm making one. I am hoping that this will be a project that I make many times in many different colours and that it works out. That being said, I've had some issues with this one so far. The first attempt, I knew I was off gauge when I started it. I just didn't think I was so off gauge. And so I slightly naively started it, and then I got to a couple rounds of the body. I've now frogged that, but a couple rounds of the body, and realised it was way too big. For something that was supposed to have 6 inches of negative ease, it had positive ease. So I restarted, and I have gotten to the point, well, a little bit further than the point that I tried that one on and ended up frogging it. So we're gonna try this one on and hope that several days of knitting are not for nothing. If it does fit, I think I'm going to leave the stitches on hold and do the finishing bits around the neck and the arms, so that I can then just do the body and just go till I'm happy with the length. My gauge was too big, so I'm on a much smaller size, and my row gauge is also still proportionally off, so I've snuck in an extra row or 2 here and there, and I'm hoping that it will block a lot longer. I did not do a proper gauge swatch for this because I've not been patient enough, despite the fact that it is a fingering weight project, and so it is by its nature a project that requires a lot of patience. The reason I started this project was because I wanted to learn continental knitting so that I could hold 2 strands for colour work
and be very comfortable and improve my tension. So that's what I'm doing in this project. I think that's part of why the gauge is off. It's completely new to me. I'm also using new needles. I historically have been a wooden needle girly and always hit gauge, wood needle and English style, and now suddenly I'm using metal needles and continental, and I am not anywhere near the gauge. So that has thrown me off a little bit, because I have been able in the past to kind of just get away with not doing the gauge swatch, or at least only sort of half-arsing it and it working out. My progress with continental knitting, I think I have come really far. It's very comfortable for me now. I'm probably just as fast. My tension isn't as even or as anywhere as good as it is with English style, but I feel pretty comfortable doing it now. Occasionally something goes awry, and if I have to do anything other than a plain knit stitch, like make one right or left, which there's been a lot of in this pattern, it's a little bit awkward, but I've persevered because I want to be able to be fluid, an ambidextrous knitter, if you will. So yeah, I'm gonna go try it on now that I've yapped forever about it. This probably looks utterly ridiculous, but you know what? I can live with this. I think this is all right. I'm not mad about the size. I think the armholes are quite big. I wasn't expecting them to be quite that big, but I think with the extra bit, they do tighten up, so I'd rather them be slightly too big than slightly too small, to be honest. But yeah, I'm really happy. I'm gonna get started on this neck and arm band, and I'll see you when I see you. Been knitting on this, don't want to drop any stitches, for most of the day. I went into town to see my brother, but I also had it out for some of that while we had lunch and when I was on the bus. I did the neck last night, which I'm very happy with. I was slightly apprehensive because the folded collar, I've heard a lot of people talk about taking forever. It's knit on 2mm needles, which I don't think it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. The other thing I've heard people talk about, or seen people talk about in the Ravelry comments, was the decorative stitch around the edge, except it's not a decorative stitch, it's the cast off edge, and then you just back stitch all the way along to stitch it down, and then the cast off edge becomes like a little decorative thing. So from the comments I'd seen, I'd assumed that it was a difficult stitch or difficult to get your head around, but there was a video with the pattern link to that showed it really clearly. I think it looks really good. I'm very happy with it. I think that there's a couple of bits where it's a bit funky, but I think they'll just block out, so I'm not too worried about those either, really. I do, however, think I need a tiny little bit of a break. I'm slightly worried about my wrists. Like I said, I haven't knitted solidly since this morning, but I did do this side and cast off while I was out at lunch, and then I picked up the stitches for this side when I got back and have since done. I've dropped stitches. I don't remember what I was saying, but I have done a lot of knitting. I think I'm going to go make myself some juice. I was watching Ava P, who does very interesting content around crochet and then also house and life and all sorts of things. I enjoy watching, and she made a ginger orange green smoothie, and I immediately was like, I need to make that. I used to make ginger and turmeric shots quite a lot, but they were a bit arduous, but I think just putting the ginger in a smoothie seems fairly simple. But I'm gonna go do that and have a nice drink and then come back.
also nearly finished making this and I'm so excited. I am wearing a top that is obviously very similar but not handmade. I have 2 of these and I wear them all the time, so I want more. But what I realized last night when laying this on top of my other one was that these are more cropped than the pattern that I'm following. And so I think I can stop the body a lot sooner than I was anticipating for this. Instead of the 10.5 inches that the pattern suggests, I'm going to go to 8 inches, which I'm like 3 rows off now. And then I'm going to make some modifications to the pattern. The pattern says to size down your needles and then continue in stockinette. Then you fold it, I think, on the inside. However, I would like it to look the same as the armholes. And so in order to achieve that, it needs to be folding up and over, so the pearl needs to be on the outside. So what I'm going to do is look up how to change direction without having a hole in it, which I think will be as simple as slipping a stitch, or if not, it'll be probably like doing short rows, and that's fine, so that I can continue to just knit in stockinette, but the pearl bumps will be on the outside, and then I can cast off like I did on this, fold it up and sew it down exactly the same, and then I'll be done. Bar blocking, I have tried this on, but I'm going to save the try on for when I'm done. I'm hoping the blocking is not too dramatic. I'd like it to even out around the armhole and the neckline, but apart from that, I'm hoping the size doesn't grow too much. It's kind of the perfect size at the moment. Let's do some more knitting. It's time! I finished my camisole number 9 a couple of days ago and I'm so excited. It's been blocking. I wore it once. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen it on my stories. So yeah, let's go take it off the blocking board and try it on. I am so happy with how this turned out. Yeah, I'm so pleased. I think it's fitting perfectly. I'm very comfortable. I think I can wear a bra with it, although I think the straps show at the back, but that doesn't bother me at all. So very happy. I think it is slightly warmer because the wool I used, West Yorkshire Spinners Exquisite, it's 80% wool, 20% silk. So it was always going to be a bit of a warmer garment, but I think I live in the UK. Most of the year it's not that warm, so it's fine. I have already bought the yarn to make another one before I even tried this on, but that is 100% cotton, so I'm excited to see how the process differs. I'm just so pleased with how this came out, and I honestly don't think I have much to say about it. The modifications I made, I was way off gauge with the pattern, so I made the smallest size, and I think measurements wise it came out slightly bigger than the size I would have made, which was the 3rd size. So there was that. I think part of that was that this is wool and so has more give and is maybe less tight to work with than the cotton merino that the pattern suggests. I'll be interested to see if I have an easier time hitting gauge with the cotton than I did with this wool. To compensate for that, because my stitch gauge was way off, but my row gauge was more or less there, so I added some extra rows here and there where I could get away with it on these bits at the top, so that the armholes wouldn't be too tight, because I've seen other people
make this and be off, and that was an issue. So I didn't want that to be a problem, and it's not. I think, to be honest, I could have gotten away without doing that. They're definitely not even close to being tight, and I only added like 3 or 4 rows, which on this kind of size is not very much. Then I also made the body slightly shorter than the pattern recommended. I am short and I am very happy with the length of it. It is perfectly hitting my top of my jeans, but if I do this, it doesn't rise up too much. So perfect length. Then I did the hem different so that it would look the same as the neck and the armholes. I essentially did a short row to switch the direction that I was knitting so that the purl ridges were then on the right side, so that I could fold it up and sew down the cast off edge in the same way that you do on the neckline and armholes, which meant that it had the same decorative look. One thing I have heard about this yarn, I'm curious to see as I wear it, is that it pills really easily. It's quite soft. There are lots of like fluffy bits, a little bit of a halo, so I'm expecting some pilling, but hopefully it sort of settles down and stops or isn't super noticeable. But that's something I'll only know with wear and tear and all of that jazz. I think this is going to get a lot of wear in my wardrobe. So that's it for the last project of this video. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching this far. If you'd like to share your summer wardrobe dream item in the comments, hopefully that might inspire me for some future things. I'm still on the lookout for what I want to make next, but I also have some plans. I have a couple of things that I think will be the whole own video. I want to do one on mending because I have a lot of things that I think just need a little bit of a mend or a rework or just something small to make them a very wearable, very usable, very loved piece in my wardrobe. So I want to do something on that, and then I also want to try making graphic tees because that's something that popped up on my Pinterest a lot, and I don't actually have that many of them, and I have quite specific visions of what I want in a graphic tee, so I might try designing some. If you have any advice on that, I think it's quite specific. So that is all I have to say. I'll stop yapping on and let you get on with your day. If you'd like to see more of me, I have a couple other videos that you could watch and subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon.